What's up, everybody? This is Age, and welcome to another episode of Talking Skritt. We have a fantastic show for you this week. We got the episode 6 trailer, possibly a new legendary, and NPCs can gather materials for you at a price. We have, but let me first introduce you to my fellow host. He is a moderator over at MMO Champion. It looks like we are going back to Ore, and it has nearly been the 5-year engagement we've all been waiting for, but what will we find buried there? Say hello to Jim.
Um, I'm hoping a better way to acquire a legendary than just buy stuff from vendor, but I'm not really going to get my hopes up for that.
Fair enough. And you could see his stuff over on Twitch and YouTube at MMO Inks. If the Risen are anything like launch, you'll have to police Aura itself, and there is no better man to join the RIPD. Here's our Canadian bacon of Guild Wars 2. Say hello. Thanks.
The RIPD, huh?
I don't make the intro. Deo just made the notes this week, so I'm just reading the things. So yeah, as you guys can see, Deo is not in this week. He has an engagement. So I am doing all the things and the clickings, and we're going to talk about the episode 6 trailer that came out on Tuesday. So I'm going to pop it up over here. And we're just going to go over our thoughts about it. Now, I know Inks put out a video about his reactions, but let's hear it. Let's hear it. Because I didn't want to watch the video because I wanted to hear it straight from the horse's mouth. So
you don't want to watch the like 5 or 6 minute reaction and then 54 minutes of discussion.
I will afterwards. How did you do that? You pulled the wooden potatoes.
Yeah, no. Well, the video was an hour and 20 minutes long, and I cut 25 minutes of discussion from the end of it.
Wow.
Because it got a bit redundant, but
I have to say I'm kind of surprised you dropped it below an hour, because everybody else I saw was at least an hour long.
Yeah, Aurora Peachy had one, and I think hers was like 60, 70 minutes or something. And I mean, Wooden Potatoes was 45 plus or something, I think. There's a lot to say. I mean, there's a lot to say in this trailer. Yes, the trailer is only, it's funny because you always see people both positive, negative, and jokingly so say like, oh, you know, Wooden Potatoes or whoever is going to make 45 minutes out of this 13 seconds or whatever. But this particular trailer just had a lot going on, and there's a lot to speculate about, I think. And I think that there's a couple of directions you can sort of take this, as sort of the comments this week have proven to me about, you know, the trailer opens up on this, the gods left Tyria, which is everything which, you know, as a Guild Wars 2 or as a Guild Wars lore nerd or lore person, you know that the exodus of the gods was a big point. A point that some people seem to confuse, because the dragons don't rise until much later, after the, like 200 years or something after the gods leave, the dragons start to rise. So it's not like the gods' departure and the dragons' rise are hand in hand. They're hundreds of years apart. But then the trailer throws you a curveball and it says, but one stayed behind. And of course, the god who is on everybody's mind is Balthazar. And that's the god, of course, that's on my mind, because that is the god, or the god that has fallen. His light has been dimmed. He's been abated. You know, that's the story that Arena has given us so far. But a lot of people seem to believe that Balthazar is not the god who stayed behind. That ArenaNet is trying to throw a sort of a curveball here, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, that holds a lot of, I mean, I didn't even really talk about that in my video, but that holds a lot of interesting possibilities of, I mean, I've seen all kinds of speculation, but from Dwayna was the one who stayed behind, or excuse me, Lyssa is the one who stayed behind, to, you know, all kinds of theories about how, you know, the Queen Jenna and Anise being Lyssa, being the two parts of Lyssa, has been a theory for a very long time. And so people think that that is what happened. that Lissa is the one who stayed behind and has been hiding and living amongst humans, not Balthazar, and he has somehow now come back. I don't know how much I buy into that because he has lost his power, so obviously there's a story there. And I like the idea myself that Balthazar, for whatever reason, is the one that stayed behind, and that the dragons are the ones who dimmed his light. Because he stayed behind, he lost his magic to the dragons, and he put this plan in motion, right? He put this plan in motion to get his power back. So it's kind of interesting. And I like this thought of, well, how did he get Lissa's mirror? Well, he knows where the gods had their temples. He knows where they hid their toys and their goodies and their magical artifacts. And it's not like he wouldn't be able to go and find one of these things. And I don't know. I think that's an interesting story to tell, really.
But what if it's Abaddon?
Right. And so it's a shame that Deo is not here today because there is Abaddon statues in the trailer.
I'm kind of glad at the same time because I don't want to be here for 3 hours, but I don't want Dale to be right either, because if he's right all this time, it's like he's gonna rub it in our faces.
The Abaddon theories that I've heard don't really make a lot of sense to me. I don't know about you guys, but in Nightfall we kill Abaddon. Cormyr takes his power, and then Cormyr supposedly leaves Tyria as well, which is really weird because it's going to be really interesting to see how they spin this. All the gods except one left Tyria. Then Cormyr takes Abaddon's powers, and she leaves Tyria, still leaving one behind. It's very strange, right?
Yeah.
Well, the way it's kind of put up is that something about it seems that like somehow other gods did not know that this god stayed behind. It's kind of like the whole thing. One god stayed behind is that it's kind of presented in the way that it's like nobody knew. Nobody and no thing knew that this god stayed behind. And I do kind of admit that I'm kind of on the boat that it's not Balthazar that they're talking about, because we've been hitting curveball after curveball with the story going on here. So I don't know. It's just me thinking that with everything that's been going on, I feel like Balthazar being the obvious choice is also the wrong choice. And then again, also there are mesmers involved. It might not actually be Balthazar.
Right. And
I don't know if they're going to spin that again about it being, a double disguise, but
yeah, and I don't know how I feel about that, right? Because this is like, it's sort of like a double whammy, right? Like, people will argue, I don't feel like the Lazarus reveal was necessarily really well breadcrumbed, but I buy into that reveal more if Balthazar put this elaborate plan together to disguise himself as Lazarus, to get the money, resources, materials he needs to build an army, to befriend us, to pretend to be good guy Lazarus, so that we'll keep killing dragons and he can just show up and sort of absorb the power that he needs. But he doesn't care about Tyria, the planet. He certainly doesn't care about us, player characters, or the races, or the inhabitants of the planet. And I'm sure there is a deeper story there, but ArenaNet loves to throw these curveballs where they present a character that says, okay, this is the big bad guy, but not really. It's really somebody else, right? There's really a puppet master behind all of it, which essentially was what Abaddon's story was, right? In Guild Wars 1, we kept facing all of these different enemies, all of these different bad guys, even Shiro, which were all manipulated by Abaddon in the end. So, I don't know. It is interesting. I can see ArenaNet doing a storyline like that. They like to do that sort of thing, especially in a trailer. But it leads to a bigger question, like why is Abaddon there? Why is Balthazar there, and why does he have no power if he wasn't the one who stayed behind, right?
Yeah, that's a fair point. There was a theory Dale shot into the Discord, but I'll read off for him since he's not here. So he had like a crazy. Oh, doesn't he? But he had a theory where Ritlock was somehow connected, or the Revenants were connected to this new, possibly a new army for Balthazar. Since he has never spoken, or we don't even know what he's done in the mist. So, what do you guys think about the possibility of that? An enemy profession, as it were.
To be honest, I just want more from Ritlock. Like, they kind of gave us an idea that we were going to see him basically get court-martialed.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And then the two Char that came to get him, I knew the one guy would show up again because he had a name. And then the female Char that was being super bitchy didn't have a name. So I'm like, well, we'll never see her again. Mm-hmm. So I want more from that. I want to know what the hell is going on with Ritlock. If the Revenant is somehow like an army that someone has been building up in the mists secretly, like if Ritlock basically stole this power from someone in the mists, I think that would be an interesting twist. And then you find out that all of the in-game Revenants are basically accidentally exposed to this power source that gives them the ability to be Revenants, because Revenant is a new thing. So
I know Deo loves Abaddon, but I really think that Abaddon himself is gone. I think he's dead. I think the statues that we're going to see, the temple, the potential temple that we're going to see in that trailer, I think that's going to have some cool lore points, like maybe a collection, not just about Abaddon, but probably maybe about many of the gods, which would be really fun. I just think the Abaddon statues are just a cool callback that they sort of like. I don't know how involved it's going to be, unless there's some subplot where Balthazar was like, Abaddon was right all along, or something crazy like that, right? I don't think Abaddon himself is going to be necessarily involved.
Okay.
We kill him, and Cormyr takes his power. He's gone, and gods. It's sort of this question: what happens to a dragon when we kill it? Does it go to the mists? Because that's not really that clear. We kill it, and its magic is spread across Tyria and absorbed by a number of creatures and things. So, are gods a lot like dragons in that when you kill them, if you can kill them, which you have to remember, when the gods went to war with Abaddon, they didn't kill him. They sent him to prison, basically.
put him in timeout.
Yeah, they put him in permanent timeout, or at least very long temporary timeout until the player characters would kill him eventually. I don't know. It's interesting. And then you have to ask yourself, what is the relation of God's magic to dragon magic? Did the gods not kill Abaddon because, just like killing a dragon, that's dangerous for the balance of Tyria? And that the only reason that it was okay that we killed Abaddon is Cormyr took his power, so the power isn't just lost out there?
Well, the one thing, and I realize we're extrapolating the gods left Tyria and one stayed into,
into this
a lot. But to
really
be fair, they have one of the things I've brought up before when people talked about why the hell would Balthazar just kind of show up and do this? Well, the gods are just super powerful entities. They're not gods in the vein of like real world god analogies. Like they have their own motivations, they have their own wants and desires and needs and conflicts. So we don't know why the gods left, but they left. Maybe wherever they came from, there was some kind of conflict and they needed to go do something about it. Maybe what Balthazar is talking about is some enemy force that he needed to rip power from Tyria in order to fight. Like perhaps he's no longer caring about cultivating the source of power he has on Tyria because he needs to take it all in order to win, in order to have anything left after the fact. So,
yeah, I just think like the way they have Balthazar set up currently, it feels like he's made it very clear that he doesn't care about Tyria. He's only interested in the magic and recharging himself. And I feel like that plays in line with a story of him wanting to leave. He stayed, whatever the reason he stayed was, or if he's the one who stayed, whatever the reason is, he no longer cares about that and just wants to leave. And he doesn't care about the safety of Tyria or what it's going to do to the planet or the balance of the force or whatever. He just wants to leave. He just wants his power back and he wants to go on his way. Getting back to Ritlock a little bit, I don't think we're going to see Ritlock this episode. Until recently, I've been a big advocate for seeing Ritlock this episode. And don't get me wrong, I would love to see Ritlock. I want to know what happens with that story, that character. I'm tired of the constant brush off that we get with Ritlock. They won't tell us about the mists. They don't want to tell us about his real life. They don't want to tell us, like, there's so much mystery from the books to the game wrapped up with Ritlock that it would be nice to finally get some payoff with that character, and they never give it to us. But remember, in season 2, we're approached with this crazy idea of his to cleanse Ascalon, which goes horribly wrong, and he jumps into the mists, and we don't see him until the expansion. He disappears for the rest of season 2, and we don't see him until the expansion. This time, he gets carted off to jail to answer for not answering the Black Citadel, and now we don't see him for the rest of season 3. So I don't think we're going to see him in this episode.
Yeah, as much. Yeah, I kind of agree with you there. There's just, I think if anything, he'll appear near the end of the episode.
Maybe, yeah, maybe.
To Deus Ex Ritlock instead of Deus Ex Timey.
Maybe.
Or Ritlock Ex Machina instead of Timey Ex Machina.
In a way, he was in Heart of Thorns, right? He appears out of
Literally,
nowhere.
Yeah.
Has a special magic power that he can't explain or won't explain. He summons Glint and he blows the enemies away, basically, right? And then problem solved. Later, Cub. Let's move on. Like, it's a pretty close definition to exactly what that is.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
It's funny because people give a lot of crap to Timey. Me being one of them. I hate the character. But it's not so much Timey that is the problem, although she is a big problem. It's magic in general that is the problem, right? Why does something happen or how does something work? Well, it's magic. You just have to, And so I think magic itself is a bigger underlining problem than Timey or Ritlock or any of these characters.
Yeah, whenever you have something that you can just kind of go, bam, problems are solved.
Yeah. And as much as I don't like the OMAD's machine thing, like there was a story there, and maybe they just picked that loose end story up and decide to reinsert it into the story, sure. But OMAD's machine was something that was described to the player in a decent amount of detail long before episode 5. Maybe not clearly as to what it does, and it never will because magic, but it's not as big a Deus Ex Timey as people make it out to be. As much as I hate her and her stupid exosuit that can resist volcanic fire, and I need druid power to do so.
Still won't let that go, will you?
Well, it's terrible storytelling, but anyway.
All right. I wanna bring it to the topic to this woman you'll see on the screen. Is the ghostly woman and dressed in Orient noble fashion, it looks like. And then there's a wraith that looks like possibly one of the Kings of War or Lords of War, what have you. But I wanted to know what you guys thought about possibly having Ghost of War as allies or as possibly enemies in this map that we're going to get.
Considering Anise going on and on about in times of strife, Kryta has to turn to uncommon allies. The undead are no longer under Zaitan's control. So they talked often about how the undead retained memories of their life. but Zaitan was able to exert control over them because his domain included death. So it's entirely possible that there are now sentient undead that can act on their own. So yeah, we could have Orion allies in this next map, which I think would be pretty awesome, especially combined with the fact that Traherne was trying to cleanse ore. So we've got that thrown in there, weakening Zaitan's hold at the beginning of all of this, or back before the death of Zaitan, and then into this, we now have, undead new race confirmed Kappa, but
Yeah.
I don't ever want to see undead as a playable race in a game ever again. I dealt enough with that in WoW, and I don't want to see it again. They're not evil; they're just misunderstood. No, dog, they're evil.
They're zombies.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so like that part of the trailer. There's, I don't want to drag this out into 4 hours of talking Skritt, but there's so much going on in that section. People pointed out to me something that I missed, and that's all of these things, the ghosts, the Lich, who, by the way, are intelligent undead, the Melandru, Druid, Avatar. You're seeing signs of different aspects of the gods, or different avatars of the gods, perhaps. The ghost itself is sort of interesting because I had first said that, well, this looks like either an Orion ghost because of the attire, or maybe a priestess of Lissa. Somebody brings up Dwayna, but then if she was Dwayna, who her outfit colors match, the profile of the character doesn't match. She doesn't have blonde hair and blue eyes like Dwayna's characters often do. I mean, there's an outfit in the store that literally gives you blonde hair. It's kind of a big thing for her. So, and I don't know, maybe that's just maybe it still could be, that's just a missed opportunity perhaps. But what's more disturbing is what the ghost actually says in the trailer. And what she actually says is that the roaming undead are blocking the flow of energy. And we need to feed them to the lava, feed them to him, presumably meaning Balthazar. So if that's the case, why does the ghost want us to feed the undead to him? It doesn't seem like a good idea to feed the undead to his lava unless it's going to hurt Balthazar somehow, unless that it frees the flow of energy up in ore, which could be why the cleansing doesn't seem like it's taken very much hold. It's speculation, obviously, but why would we want to feed them to the lava?
Well, I can only assume that, like, if we're and there, I didn't catch the statue. That's a Balthazar statue behind that guy right there. Huh. I'm watching it a bit of a delay, so yeah.
The Ornian Knight, that's a Grenth statue.
Oh, that was a Grenth statue? The with the horned helm and the skull necklace? Okay.
Yeah, the skulls are slightly different on Grenth. I know they look very similar.
But the other thing is, a lot of the undead that are in this trailer look healthier than the standard models, if that makes sense. Or it could just be they updated the textures on the models. I don't know.
They do look a little better.
But we've got the Priestess of Balthazar showing up, the one that's kind of like waving the fire off, which is a fantastic action shot there. There's a lot of stuff going on. Having Orion allies would be cool. This throwing things to the fire, it could be something similar to how we were talking about, Jormag versus Primordus energy, where we're somehow trying to weaken Balthazar by feeding him death magic.
Right, yeah.
So again, it kind of comes down to magic, like you said, being the problem is that it's kind of wibbly wobbly. We don't have a set of rules to work with because everything can just be kind of thrown off by somebody discovering some new way to harness magic, which I guess is kind of a MacGuffin in their tool of narrative tricks for this. But I don't think they've never really had anything just completely throw off that badly other than Omad's machine.
Right.
So normally things do kind of behave against a rule set, aside from when we're talking about like let's harness the ley lines, and it's just.
Yeah. So, in theory, let's say Balthazar gets this flow of energy. What do you think he'll do with it?
I think he wants to leave or use it to kill another dragon for even more magic.
There's a reason he wants power. Like there he is gathering power for a purpose.
So, would you lean more towards he wants to leave, or kill another dragon and doom us all?
I don't think Balthazar kind of ignores us in episode 5, right? Yeah, he kills Marjorie because she was being annoying to him and sort of betrayed him a little bit and didn't really care too much for that. Plus, I think it's a show of power that he can just smack you down if he wants to.
He maimed her, didn't kill her.
Right, maimed her, right. So yeah, I don't know. I think that I think he just cares about getting power. He doesn't care how he gets power. He tried to be a nice guy about it at first, be like, hey, let's work together. Let's kill some dragons. Let's, I'll help you out. You help me out kind of thing. Mm-hmm. But that didn't work. We didn't fall for it. We've seen through his, guys. And so now he's just like, you know what? Gloves are off. I don't care. I'm going to get you some magic and you ain't stopping me.
Yeah.
He's probably also not too happy that we interrupted his little dragon ritual either, because he was bleeding both of them dry at the same time.
Yeah.
That, and I don't think that, like Ink said, he doesn't necessarily care. He might be mildly annoyed, but I think there was a sense of urgency to what he was doing that was greater than his mild annoyance at being kind of roadblocked by us minorly.
It's going to be really interesting, whatever god this ends up being, whether it's Balthazar or whether they're throwing us for a loop for another one. You got to remember that the gods left over 1,300 years ago. So why does he care so much right now that he hasn't cared so much for 1,300 years? It's been a long time, and all of a sudden right now is the most, and I think that's where this prophecy comes into, where at the end, this is one path ends, and there's an ominous voice at the end, which a lot of people will get to, but a lot of people are saying is Livia saying that you need to save Tyria, save the world, blah, blah, blah. And they talk about a new prophecy. And I think that, this sort of wraps into it. But why? Why 1,300 years? Why did we wait so long? Or why did Balthazar or whoever wait so long to now for it to be so important?
Mm-hmm.
Was it waiting for the dragons to wake up? Just patiently, yeah, whatever they get up, it's fine. I'll just hang out here on Tyria for 1,300 years, keep them to myself, not listening to the prayers of whatever followers I have,
The answer is in that ship that's on that cliff.
Or it's just a piece of scenery porn that they wanted to throw into the cinematic.
A little off topic, but somebody had said, and I thought that was a good idea, that they thought the ship would be a jumping puzzle, which is a possibility.
Yeah.
Somebody else said that, let's be realistic here, that's going to be the next 1,000 gem area that players can go to and teleport into the map.
That's so true. I didn't think of that.
Because it's high up on the map. It doesn't look like you can get to it.
I didn't think. Oh, wow.
And I'm like, you're right. That's exactly what it's going to be. 1,000 gems, come to the Orient ship on the cliff.
That's damn it.
Put some crafters up there, throw a portal up there, you're good to go.
Wow. I didn't think about he's probably right.
Brilliant.
That's pretty brilliant. All right. Is there anything else from the trailer that you guys want to extrapolate on?
There's so much. I guess is my final word. Go watch the video if you want something more in detail. There's lots of them out there, not just mine. But I think what's going to happen is we'll just skip to the very end of the episode. Regardless of how we get there, I think that you can hear in the trailer the Norn player character's voiceover. It's not Bram, although I know it sounds a little bit like him. That's the Norn player character, and what sounds like a niece having a discussion with either the queen or some sort of council, and they're discussing this problem of the dragons. You can't kill any more dragons. You're going to blow Tyria up. Anise says, we got to make some unlikely allies. And I think that there's going to be a Livia reveal towards the end of the episode or somewhere within the episode. And I think that the episode is going to end with us going after the Scepter of Horror, or maybe obtaining it to control the undead.
I think that's actually that sounds actually pretty good to me. That's as a solid
At this
theory.
point, we might actually have to ally with like the Sons of Svanir to protect Jormag.
From Bram?
And honestly, I would perfectly be completely happy with a living story instance or something in the next expansion where I get to punch Bram in the face because god damn it, he's being a little bitch.
Mm.
I'm still salty over that. It's been 2 episodes.
Wow.
And Ikun makes a really good point. There are a number of player characters in the story, Bram, Almora Soulkeeper, many others, Ritlock for one, who have personal vendettas against these dragons that I don't think it's going to be so easy to convince them not to kill the dragons. You as the commander are going to show up with Timey phone. You and Timey on the telephone are going to show up and say, listen, guys, Timey ran it through her computer simulation, and you can't kill any more dragons. Sorry. Yeah, that's going to fly real well with some of those hardline characters.
Yeah. We have Bram with Jormag. We have Almora with Krakatork. We have the dwarves with Primordis. We got a lot of things going on. And I don't know who will kill Bubbles. Maybe the Quaggan will. I don't know. But yeah, a lot of issues, and very interesting to see. But also, Arena did tease out 2 other things. They teased out a layout of the new map that's coming in the next patch. Looks pretty. And there you can see the Gemstore ship up in there. Or possibly. Who knows? But yeah, I think it looks pretty good. It looks like it's going to have layers, kind of like Draconis Moans again.
Looks like a point of interest, or not a point of interest, a viewpoint cinematic there.
It's like a vista.
A vista, yeah.
Yeah. And they also teased out this. And it looks like we are going to get a legendary hammer with this episode. Now, I wanted to get a better shot of this hammer, but so I went and looked, and I saw a few forum threads that says the hammer looks terrible, as it were. I want to get your guys' opinion on it.
It looks almost dwarven, like with an axe head, just blunt. I kind of dig the design from what I can see. The kind of spectral hands, I don't know if I dig that so much, but I mean, it kind of reminds me of some of the stuff from Skyrim, the way the hammer looks. I think it's a decent looking hammer from what I can tell. The only problem I'm going to have, and I really can't tell here, is that more often than not, the hafts on hammers are way too short for me to look believable, because I mean, that's kind of the whole deal with the hammer is you want to, if you're swinging it, you choke up for control, and then when you're bringing down a big swing, you let your hands come together to get the lever action and increase the force. So having a short haft on a hammer just always bugs me. But like, it looks cool enough right now.
It's tough. You really don't get a good look at the weapon. You're watching the character walk away from the camera. You get a minor side view of what the hammer head sort of looks like. One of my problems with Juggernaut is that it doesn't remind me of a hammerhead. Juggernaut could have been a staff as much as a hammer, right? To me, anyway.
Because the head on it isn't very.
The head on
bulky.
it is like, it's very strange, right? There's no, I don't know. It doesn't. Juggernaut doesn't feel very hammery to me necessarily. A very cool weapon, very cool effects on Juggernaut, but I don't know, the head on it doesn't. This one seems a lot more hammer-like. But the only thing we can see are footsteps, which are these ghostly hands, which I think are pretty cool. But
Yeah.
we don't know what the draw animation is like or any of that other stuff yet.
That's one of the things I saw some people saying that, maybe it's not a legendary hammer, maybe it's something else, but no other skin has ever given footsteps.
Right. That would be a new one. That would be right now. That's really sort of the only thing that really separates legendaries from some of the Black Lion weapons. Like some of the Black Lion weapons are almost flashy enough, or even some of the Gemstore weapons are almost flashy enough to be legendary. They're just missing footfalls. So now if they're giving footfalls to weapons that are not legendaries, which I do think this is a legendary, that would be like a new barrier they're sort of breaking there.
Their design focus there, yeah.
Yeah.
It's important to note that it said in the tweet that put out this trailer this teaser is reclaim your own piece of ore to take into battle. So it does sound it's definitely Orion themed. And from my perspective, it looks like they're going for a more simplistic approach. But I do feel like maybe on-hit effects will show. I hope there's at least on-hit effects that show up.
Right.
Because it doesn't seem like it has an aura. But
yeah,
also,
it's a bit hard to tell, right?
Yeah.
It might not even be done. Like they might have just had the footfalls active for that.
Oh man, please don't say that. Why would you tease a weapon that's not done?
Well, to be fair, I don't know. Like, well, it's one of those things where it's like clearly the footfalls and then reclaim a piece of ore. Literally all of the newer legendaries have required you to do something in the new map. We're all basically certain that we're going to be in ore for the new map.
Right, yeah.
So it kind of makes sense that this is the new thing with buying junk from a vendor to build a legendary.
I just think it's a sort of tongue-in-cheek thing. Like the candlestick was Balthazar themed, and he was the big reveal for that episode. And
wait, candlestick?
Flames of War.
The torch, the legendary
torch.
torch.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
The cake, the candle cake, whatever you want to call it. And that seems like a new direction that they're sort of taking with these legendary weapons, is that they seem to be tied to episode themes, which I don't know how I feel about that, but it seems like a direction they're heading, sort of.
Well, I'm totally okay with you kind of ripping the pieces for your legendary out of the map you're working on. Like, I think that's a great idea.
Yeah, but we all know it won't be that detailed, right? It'll be...
I have to buy 290 tokens. Yeah.
Gifts of friendship, gifts of Balthazar's friendship with, Orion friendship with magic, and then you need a whole bunch of mithril and whatever. You know the process by now.
I do know the process.
You need to cut down like a forest and mine, a continent the size of Argentina to make it, and then, there you go.
You have to cut down a forest, regrow it so you can cut it down again.
You need to cut down all of South America's forests, then regrow it, cut it down again.
Yeah.
You need to deforest the planet.
Because as a side note, I was working on if it was a sword that was coming out, I was working on getting the materials ready for it, and I did the math. It's a lot mithril, a lot of elderwood.
Yes, it is.
And
somebody said something that was kind of interesting too about the legendary weapons, in that they feel like they're saving the dagger, the sword, and possibly greatsword. Greatsword, I think, just because it's a fan favorite. But that some of the weapons they're saving in particular, because they might be used in the new elite specs.
Oh, that's possible.
So if you're not seeing things like a focus, a sword, a dagger, and so on, those might be weapons that the classes are going to get.
I can see that.
Yeah, I could see that too. But yeah, we'll see how this hammer shows up. I'm sure someone will make it and put it in map chat. So
I'll just tell DeRoyer to make it. I'll make it on the first day and give me footage so I can display it.
That's a lot of banked materials.
Yeah.
It's interesting to, before we switch over, it's interesting to where this shot is taking place. This is very Oregon. The door.
It looks like one of the Orion vaults.
Yeah.
Right, but I don't remember ever seeing two braziers that were like that. Maybe I'm
That were
wrong.
lit specifically.
Yeah, no, I can't
I'm trying to
remember one
think.
either.
I feel like somebody's going to say, no, you guys are idiots. This is clearly a place that already exists, but I can't currently place it anyway.
I can't recall off the top of my head either.
Well, Ore is a big place.
Hmm.
And
It's
we
the
haven't.
entrance to the Arad dungeon. I thought about that, but is it? I mean, it could be, I guess.
No, there was no water there. I don't remember there being water, and it looks like there's like ankle deep water here.
I think that's just the grimy ground. I don't know. It's hard to tell.
Yeah, and I just want to highlight Mithrin's comment here. What annoys me the most of Gathering is that it's more efficient to go one spot with 15 characters and spam F than traveling all over the world. Which is kind of true, because there's that Elder Wood Farm, and usually there's mithril nodes all around and things like that, versus...
Okay. I usually try not to do this, but I'm going to log into the game and I'm going to go down to the Ara entrance because now I'm curious.
All right. While Malthanis does that, we will hop over to Gemstore. So the only addition that was very recent is the Black Lion Hunter's contract. Now, this,
Oh boy.
this is 1,200 gems, and it adds a Black Lion Hunter's board to your home instance, and it can be used to collect fine crafting materials. So basically all the T6 stuff, so bones, claws, dust, fangs, scales, totems, venom sacs, vials of blood. So basically what you have to do is interact with your board in your home instance. It'll give you a list of items you want to have the board gather. You have to pick one thing, and then every day after reset, it will, or after you relog, it will deliver a bundle to you, and it will give you two, as far as I can tell, because I got the board, you get 2 stacks of, not entire stacks, so like you'll get 2 fine blood and 1 T6 blood, that type of deal. So it's usable once a day and only usable by the owner of the instance, so you can't go into other people's home instance to use it.
That is the entrance to Ore. It's outside where the Karma vendors are.
Oh, well, there you go.
And the braziers are lit like that.
Okay. Good eye, Icon, then. What do you guys think of the board?
So, go ahead, Malthanis.
This is... Just give us real player housing already. Like, give Dragon's Watch a guild hall. Like I've said countless times in countless shows before, let us put our nodes where we want to put them, because they are overloading this stuff. I don't know where all of this is going to end up fitting. I'm going to be mining nodes inside the orphanage in Divinity's Reap.
Get to work, kids. Make me stuffed bears to sell to other orphans.
I just this is getting to like class hall stuff from World of Warcraft, which I don't have a problem with. I don't have a problem with us being the Pact Commander, having people that we can talk to be like, hey, I need you to go do a thing for me, and they go off and do it and come back the next day. I think that's a great idea. Us having our own little personal army, great. It's a little bit of time investment for a delayed reward. I think that's fine.
Right.
But you can't, it's what, 2,000 gems?
1,200 gems.
1,200.
Okay. Sorry, Icon with his Gemstore pricing in chat has kind of gotten to me. 1,200 gems for this. I mean, you'll get your money out of it eventually if you do it every day, much like all of the other nodes that you can purchase.
One day, far, far, far in the future.
Depending on the fluctuations of the trading post, yeah. But the point is, And honestly, Icon says tired of IRL chores. I don't think, like, I'm playing a game. I know that I have to do, like, you can say your dailies are a chore if you don't like doing your dailies. I mean,
Sometimes they are.
Sometimes they are, but like, to be honest, that's kind of why I took up PvP, because it's like I win a match and I'm done.
Right, yeah.
Sometimes winning a match is a bit of a chore, but if I don't feel like trying to grind out a win, I'll just go look at a Vista somewhere. There are so many ways to actually, like, and Mithrin brings up the same point that I'm talking about, is being able to place stuff, being able to choose where things go. We have the tech. Guild halls prove that.
Yeah.
So let me do that.
Yeah. Economics thing.
Economics with inks. I have a different problem with the board.
Economics.
This is no better, if not sometimes worse, than the mining nodes that they've sold before, except that it's 1,200 gems. This thing is $15 USD. $15 for a board that gives you crap most of the time. It's going to take forever to earn your money back. And that's not necessarily why you do it. I understand. It's a convenience thing. It's something to spruce up your personal instance and so on. 1,200 gems, though, it just feels like a continuing trend lately where things are just getting more expensive. And, you know, maybe that's just something that you have to accept. It's going to happen. But this thing seems extremely overpriced. And to make matters worse, unlike the mining nodes that are in your home instance, this is not usable by other players. Only you, the owner, can use this board.
Yep.
People cannot come into your home instance and use it like the other mining nodes. And somebody asked on Twitter why that is, and they said, well, this is special and different. Oh, it's special and different. It's 1,200 gems special and different. It costs more than a mining node, and it has less usability across friends and other players. What? That doesn't make any sense, and that reasoning doesn't make any sense. I'm sorry, but it doesn't.
Well, my only thought is that there is some kind of technical limitation to it.
I don't see why or how.
Yeah, I don't know why or how. I don't comprehend that. 5 years to get that gold back. Yeah. Mm.
And I understand the draw. Like, I don't own this, but I am very tempted. But then I'm just like, $15. That's a lot for this.
This is something that strikes me as something that could very blatantly be a guild hall thing, or again, player housing kind of thing, where you can upgrade it. You can have multiple teams going out. You can increase their chance for better material. You can increase their chance for more material. Like, this is something that should be more than it is, especially for 1,200 gems.
I'm trying to find the conversion rate. I'm using Guild Wars 2 efficiency to see how much actual gold it costs you to get this. And it looks like it's under 500 gold. Under 400 gold.
Quote unquote good marketing. I don't necessarily, and don't get me wrong, you know what? I don't have a marketing degree, so maybe there is something I'm totally missing here, but I feel like this is like a conspiracy theory thing. So please don't put too much stock into what I'm about to say. Treat it exactly as it sounds, which is just a conspiracy theory. We see lower earning reports, and ArenaNet raises the prices to make more money. But in the long run, they're probably actually hurting themselves by charging more and selling less. These are virtual items. It's not like you have, it's not like there's some secondary market like Super Nintendo NESs that you can just make less of on purpose, piss your customers off, but help the tertiary market. I just don't understand why they price some of these things the way that they do. Mm-hmm. This thing is no better than a mining node that you can't share with other people. I don't know that that's good marketing.
Which honestly, I think that's part of the value of the mining node, is the fact that you can invite people into your home instance and you can share it. Like, I think that's part of the market value of it. That's why the ones you can get out of the Black Lion chests are so expensive, is because you can have other people farm them too. So
Yeah.
I don't know. Like I'm not a fan of this thing.
I
The other stuff for the home nodes, I mean, they're great, fine, whatever. If you want to buy it for the extra materials, go for it. Something like this is just not a great idea.
Yeah, I mean, and don't get me. I guess it's good marketing for ArenaNet themselves, because if you really want this, you'll pay for it and they'll make more money because you can't share it. Like one of the things me and my wife used to do, she doesn't play so much anymore, but like one of us, mostly myself, I would buy the mining nodes for the home, and then we would just mine them from my home rather than double buy. This thing makes you double buy it, which is good for ArenaNet, but you know, am I going to spend $30 on 2 of these and go buy a game for that? I mean, I don't know. I think it's too expensive for what it is, and
yeah,
whatever.
So I was thinking about it, and I guess I could I see why they did it, because if technically you just need to go into your home, you need to go into the home instance once, choose which, and then you could choose which thing you want, and then you could you don't have to go into a home instance ever again, and just keep getting that material if you wanted. But if you wanted to swap materials, you'd have to ask someone to go into their home instance. So, in an ideal world, one person would buy it on each region, and then everyone would just go to that person over time.
Yeah, but that doesn't happen.
That doesn't
You know
happen,
what I mean?
obviously, but I see why they kind of made it just one person, because they wouldn't make more money off of it.
See, that's the thing. I think that was a misunderstanding I had. So it keeps sending you every day until you change it.
Yeah.
That's the difference. That's the technical limitation they had to it. You, with all the mining nodes, you have to make the choice to go into someone else's home instance every day. So
they could have coded it to be the same way. They chose to code it this way.
Again, that's part of the value, though, is the fact that you can buy it and you can tell them to go get me fangs.
Set it and forget it.
Yeah. If you set it and forget it, that's part of the value. You don't have the share value, but you have the ability to just do it once.
I think the share value far outweighs the set it and forget it value, but I don't know. Maybe not.
I honestly thought it was going to be like...
I mean... Hold on. Let's think about that for a second. Set it and forget it. But you have to go in your home instance every day to get your mining nodes anyway. So you're going to be there regardless.
But they have to sell you these things assuming you have nothing in your home instance. Yeah, these things all have to have value on their own.
Yeah, I suppose so. I just think the value is terrible. But anyway.
Well, what I thought it was going to be is, honestly, I thought it was going to be... You sign up something on the board that you want, and then you go into your home instance at reset, or, you know, be in between resets, and then there would be like an NPC ready to give you like the items they gathered, and then you would do that every day.
SWTOR had a really cool system that was a lot like this, except it was built into the game, and you had NPCs that you could send out on missions. And they would go and do little missions and bring you back materials and stuff like that. Which this would be, what would really be cool, this is thinking way, way, way far outside the box. But the NPCs that you collect in your home instance, depending on the choices that you make throughout the story, it would be really cool if you could have utilized them in some way to go on missions and bring you materials back. But then you're getting into like a whole other system that is way more complicated than just a board that gives you materials.
World of Warcraft class hall and garrison kind of stuff.
Well, I like to think of it as a SWTOR thing because they did it before them, and I'm sure somebody did it before SWTOR, but yeah. Exactly.
Well, considering I'm still a mod on MMO Champion, that's mostly what I saw, and I tend to completely ignore Old Republic because aside from a few gems, the game just kind of lays bare all of EA's marketing schemes. But we are the Pact commander. Despite whether or not we're running parallel to the actual rest of the Pact's way of thinking and doing things, we are still an influential person. It would totally make sense for people to be like, I'm gonna follow that person. So the ability to have those groups of people and to say, hey, can you go do a thing for me? Totally makes sense. Your idea makes total sense. And then the people you gain from your personal, it would actually make personal story matter. So say you got like the Hylic, you get maybe fangs and poison sacks and blood because their hunters would go out and get stuff for you. If you got the Quaggan, you'd get like coral and seaweed and other stuff that would be from like water sources and lotus blossoms and stuff. So that would be able to give players more meaning to their personal story because it affects what you get later on in the game.
That sounds pretty awesome.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's like a Corteria overhaul thing that I don't think
will happen.
Well, not only do I not think it's going to happen, I don't even know if it's smart for it to happen for the game. You know, like they don't have the extra resources to do something like that. At least I don't feel so. Yeah. And you make a great point. Obviously, I am very Gemstore biased. It's not that I don't want Arena to make money. It's just some of the decisions they make, I just can't. I want to support them. I just can't get behind them on some of these decisions that they make in the Gemstore.
Well, the question is how much of their marketing is pushed by ArenaNet and how much of it is pushed by NCSoft.
I mean, I think this is fully by ArenaNet. I don't know that NCSoft has to, I don't know. I have no idea. I don't work for ArenaNet. I don't work for the marketing. I fully expect in the expansion, just like gliders were, to be hit with a plethora of choices for 400 to 600 gems a piece. It'll start out at 400. It'll get up to 600 very quickly. It's what it is, and that stuff doesn't anger me or bother. I mean, this doesn't make me angry. This just makes me want to spend less in the Gemstore.
That's understandable. You're speaking with your wallet, pretty much.
And I know that like a lot of people, like Ikun is saying, most people really don't care. They're like, oh, a new thing in the thing to put in my home instance, 1,200 gems. Well, that's expensive, but whatever. Who cares? I'm supporting the game, and that's fine. If they feel that way, then by all means, please buy it. But I think it's too expensive for what it is and what it returns you.
I do wanna hop back to your idea, Inks, and why I like it, because I feel like it promotes replayability in the sense of, let's say you go through the story and then you choose, to help the Quaggan, but you can't get like the Hylic anymore or like the other options.
Right.
I think it was Jotun or I forget. Anyway, but then you have another character and you play. Oh, I already did Quaggan, so let's get Hylic now, and I really like the idea. I feel like it'd be a great thing to implement. If not for Corteria in the future, it'd be a really nice thing. But
and just think going forward, and this didn't happen in the seasons, but they could have added more side characters that could join. I mean, I guess you get into the cat problem, right, where you have 500,000 cats or 500,000 NPCs hanging around. But I'll give you a good example. My Asuran, and I don't even remember the story step anymore. It's been so long since I've played the personal story. There is a char called something Inkblood. I forget the first name. And it's a char ranger who has a salamander as a pet. I love that NPC. I don't even remember the NPC, but I love that NPC in my home instance. So I don't know. I just wish there was more interaction with those things. And I think at one point they wanted there to be, but it just never seen the proper amount of time or care or development.
Yeah. Be nice.
Does anyone else enjoy the slow tilt to Ink's camera as the show goes on?
My desk is
problematic. No, I know. It's just, it amuses me.
Desk is like this, so the camera's, and if I lean on the desk, anyway.
So what were you saying, H? I'm sorry.
I almost damn it, what was it?
Quaggins and Hylic.
August and highlight. Well, anyway, I was just gonna say that I did get it because I always know that there's gonna be a return investment eventually. For this, it looks like it's gonna be a year. If I do that every day, so
I think Mithrin said higher up that it was 5 years.
it depends what you get.
Okay.
So if you get materials that are at least 1 gold a day, then it's a year. If not, like a year and a half, I would say.
Mithrin brings up a freaking awesome point. We got Mox this season, who I absolutely love in my home instance. We could have had Jobotron from season 2 in the home instance.
You mean Herotron?
Whatever
Yes,
you want to
yes.
call him.
Yes.
Robototron, Herotron, Jobotron, whatever you want to call him. He could have been in your home instance, just like Mox, and
Yeah,
you could send them on missions, and oh man, it could be so good.
that's true. Oh, and Mox could gather Watchwork sprockets for you. Amazing.
They could even have a special achievement that unlocks that character for your home instance. Now, in season 3, you just talk to Mox and he goes and joins your home instance. But like, I don't know, you could have had to bring Mox spare parts or something sort of silly or whatever, right? But you could have had something Hobotron, right? You could have had something that unlocked them for your home instance. Or they could just, I guess, give them to you. It feels a little bit hollow, but whatever. And then you could send them on missions and stuff. Oh, that would be so cool.
Yeah. Oh, I kind of. Okay, Arena, you need to make a worker system. So, if not for this expansion, because I know it may be cutting a line, so just make it for like later next year. Great.
Oh, you really want to get people upset? If you raid, you can unlock Glenna for your home instance.
Why do the Raiders get all the best things?
Oh, what is the World vs. World guy's name? There's like a World vs. World guy who, if you're really losing badly, will he's an NPC.
Siege
the one
Razor.
who pops up with the commander tag.
Yeah.
Yeah, Siege Razor.
There you
Siege
go.
Razor, yeah.
You can get him in your home instance if you play World vs. World. Add one for each game mode. There you go.
Wow. Yeah, that would be.
And he'll generate like badges or blueprints or stuff for you.
Whatever. World vs. World stuff for you.
I
Yeah.
really like this idea. Oh man.
It kind of and honestly, if you're looking for the narrative point, like I said, you're the commander. You're recruiting people that want to follow you. So the narrative is already there. People want to help you.
Well, you would think, but
If my camera randomly cuts out, it's because there's a lightning storm outside.
Yeah,
Oh,
I had
boy.
one earlier. But
Take it back.
all right. Well, any
Speaking of which, I think there's going to be a new cat
Of course.
Oh, yeah,
for this
that's-
map, right? Was there a new cat in Draconis Mons?
I don't know.
I don't know. That's a good question.
I don't think there was.
Huh.
Am I missing a cat, guys?
Icon has a good point. You need to unlock Timey for your home instance, Hanks.
I would, and then I would never let her do anything.
Well, what if,
Just
what, if
leave
she,
her.
what if she has the Deus Ex Machina effect and she just gathers everything that the other NPCs
You could build a little playpen for Aureen and Timey, and oh my god. Yeah, I mean,
Oh man. Yeah, we talked about Fractal last week, Cutie. But yeah, I think we've talked about the Hunter's Contract enough, but if you guys are interested, it is in Gemstore. If you feel like it's worth the investment, for it. And that is also the show for this week. So, Jim, where can you be found?
I can be found on Twitter at MalthanusMML. You can also find me here on twitch.tv/TalkingSkrit on Wednesdays at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for our Zero to Hero PvP night, which with the upcoming end of the season, I was actually thinking since Unranked is more of a shit show than anything else at all points in time, we might end up doing fractals in between seasons because you can Zero to Hero there too. So come along, join the fun.
Oh, nice. And Inks, where can you be found?
Twitch, Twitter, and YouTube at MMO Inks. On the 25th, I am going to attempt to stream the new story when that goes live.
Hey.
We'll see how the computer sort of handles that, but that's the plan for now. And I have at least one more video before Tuesday that I want to get out on some of like the weapon and some of the short little teasers we got. So should be good.
Nice. And you can follow me on Twitch, Twitter, and YouTube at Use Night Road. I have a Condi dagger pistol build I want to get out on YouTube. I'll do that either for tomorrow or Monday. And I also will be playing the story. That will be more in the evening for NA times. So this also avoids, people who wanted spoilers and stuff. So yeah. And you can follow us over on Twitch and Twitter at Talking Skritt. We also have a YouTube channel where this goes up every time at Sunday at noon Eastern. I don't know specific time. I can't do math right now. I'm very tired. But yeah, and I think that'll be it. So from all of us here, thanks for watching, and we will see you in the game. Take care, everyone.
Good night, friends. Oh, also, community Discord link in the doobly-doo.
Yes.
I'm helping.